Welcome to the C-Files. Thanks for joining me, folks. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I don't advertise on this channel, mainly because some of the advertisements they have on YouTube, I detest them. They're just nasty and inappropriate, and I don't allow nasty and inappropriate on this channel. This channel has to stay family friendly, and no cussing, no foul language on this channel, so it's safe for anyone to watch. I know sometimes when people use foul language, it just sends a really bad reverberation through my body. I just don't like a whole bunch of foul language. And some people use it to emphasize things. You know, they think if I use this, this really harsh curse word to emphasize what I'm saying, it has more impact. Not really anymore, because it's become so common that everybody's doing it, and the impact's not there anymore. So might as well just give up on it. I'm in the Charlotte area right now, driving, heading back. My destination's going to be 2 counties over from Charlotte, and there was some news that came out of Charlotte that, according to X, people on X that keep up with that kind of stuff, were saying no mentions of this on any of the news channels. None of the news channels mentioned it, because it's the wrong narrative, right? But the news was, and it's been all over social media, so you may have heard of it already, but the news was that there was a young lady, white, blonde hair lady, that was described as a refugee from Ukraine, a war-torn country. Came to America to make a better life for herself. And she's on the trolley in Charlotte. They kept saying it's a train. She was on a train ride. Well, trolleys, they're trains, but they're just in the city, and you just go from stop to stop. It's like an above ground subway. Is what it is. And she sits down. Gentleman behind her unfolds a knife and kills her right there. Stabs her to death. He was black, she was white. Draw your own conclusions on that. But I can tell you right now that that is not something the news likes to report on, because they follow critical race theory. Most of the news, the owners of the stations, the editors and so forth, they're critical race theory advocates. And so they believe in that racial hierarchy between oppressor and oppressed. A white male Protestant Christian like me, I would be on the highest level of oppressor. And it wouldn't matter how kind I am to other people, that I've never harmed anyone. I've never had any intentions of attacking anyone. I don't steal from people. I don't mistreat them. None of that matters at all. It doesn't mean a thing when it comes to that particular frame of mind, that thought process. Because I am in a category of oppressor, a category of the highest level of oppressor, then therefore I am an oppressor no matter what. White female would be in the oppressor category, according to critical race theory. Black male would be in the oppressed category. And this is according to that particular ideology, that particular theory. Now, the critical race theory came out of Frankfurt, Germany, out of the Frankfurt School. It was a means of pushing communism, actually. The economic theory of communism wasn't working in the United States. And so they had to come up with a different way of dividing the country, getting us at each other's throats, and trying to put together what would be equivalent to the Bolsheviks' revolution in Russia, only this time in the United States. And they figured that the weak point in the United States would be race, that we divide over race, over ethnicities and things like that. So they came up with the idea of critical race theory and invented an entire system behind it. And that system put someone like me in the category of oppressor. So if someone were to kill me, murder me, that would not be newsworthy at all, because it was just another oppressor that his life was taken. That's no big deal. That's okay. It's okay to take the life of the oppressor in that particular mindset, that particular ideology. And so the taking of this woman's life was not newsworthy for the local news or even the national news. Now, the gentleman that took her life had a history of mental illness, and which I suppose would mean he's homicidal. And he had a history of repeat offense. Multiple offenses, violent crimes that he committed over and over again. But the district attorney in Charlotte, apparently, having a woke critical race theory mentality, I would suppose, decided that since he was in the oppressed category, and of course, white guilt probably plays into this as well, that he should not receive a harsh sentence. So he was continually let out on the streets. And now that has resulted in the loss of this young lady's life. And it was a completely unprovoked attack. Completely unprovoked. All she did was sit down in the train, just sat down, minding her own business, not bothering anybody, and then next thing you know, her life was taken away from her. Completely unprovoked. And this is a problem. Critical race theory is a big, big problem for our society. It's a big, big problem for the church. Critical race theory is not compatible with Christianity. Christianity, historically, in its orthodox doctrine, by orthodox I mean the historical faith, the creeds and the confessions and so forth, and in Scripture, in the Bible, does not put people into categories of oppressor and oppressed based solely upon ethnicity. It doesn't do that. What it does say is that all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. That's Romans chapter 3. There is none righteous, no, not one. There are none that seek God. There are none that do what's right. They're all born in iniquity. One of the prophets said that we drink iniquity like water. So we can say mental illness had something to do with the loss of that life and the actions of the one who took that life. Sometimes that happens. But we can also say that sin, the condition of the heart of mankind, being evil and filled with iniquity from birth, was the cause of the mental illness, because we have physical ailments and mental problems due to a thing called sin, or a concept called sin. It's the breaking of God's laws. It's moral imperfection. That's what sin is. And it is a form of insanity. Sin does that which is inconvenient. We are in sin, we are self-destructive. Self-destructive. We destroy ourselves in sin. Think of the chain smoker, the alcoholic, the drug user. All of that based in sin, but results in people being very destructive toward themselves. That's a form of insanity. The constant desire for sugar, the constant desire for the food industry to put things in the food that make you want more, that's harmful to you, and yet they don't care that it's harmful to you, because the bottom line is the money, them making profit, and they will poison you over a long period of time with that nasty stuff they put in food to make you want to come back for more. And that is the love of money is the root of all evil. That's why Christ told the Pharisees. I'm pretty sure he was talking to the Pharisees when he said that. At the root of evil, the love of money is the root of all evil. And so, when you have someone who is homicidal, how do you handle that as a society? What do you do to protect society and help that person who has that tendency, who has homicidal tendencies? What do you do? Well, that can be a complicated question. But what you don't do is you don't keep them in society so that they can carry out those homicidal tendencies and cause people to lose their lives as a result. The first thing that should be happening in the mindset of anyone who is thinking correctly, thinking in a logical manner, is to separate the person who's homicidal from society. They have to be separated out from society. Now, what that looks like, that's another discussion. But what we don't have, folks, currently in this country is excuse me, is a long-term solution for those who suffer mental illness long-term and are homicidal when they get off their meds. Some are suicidal when they get off their meds. That's another problem. That's a different kind of problem. So how do we remain humane and at the same time protect society from those who are dangerous to society? Well, that's a discussion. That's a debate that must be had in this country. How humane are prisons? How effective are they? How effective are they in this concept of rehabilitation? I think we can do better. I'm a former prison correctional officer. Many years ago, in the 1984, I was a correctional officer at DeBerry Correctional Institute for the criminally insane in Nashville, Tennessee. I was trained in that, and I also spent a little bit of time working at the Middle Tennessee Mental Health Institute as a psychology technician. And this was when I was in my early 20s. I was a psychology technician before I went into the military. And then I had a short, about a year and a half period in between enlistments in the military. And it was during that little break from the military that I was a correctional officer at the maximum security prison in Nashville. Both dealing with the mentally ill. I worked a locked ward at the Middle Tennessee Mental Health Institute, and I also I worked the prison for those who were criminally insane, of course they had to be on their meds, and but they had committed horrific crimes against society. Now, some people would look at that and say, well, that's just so cruel to take someone who's just suffering from a medical ailment, like mental illness, and put them behind bars, or to put them in a locked ward in a mental hospital. But is it really? When I was a police officer in San Diego, that was after I did my second enlistment in the military. I became a police officer in San Diego, did a 30-year career as a police officer in San Diego. I saw a ton of homeless on the streets who were mentally ill. I saw some very, very hard cases. People who were living in dire circumstances. on the streets. I mean, dire circumstances, folks. Who would have been much better off if they were in a mental hospital. They would have had a bed to sleep in. They would have had their meds. They would have had meals served to them. And they would have had medical care. Years ago, the Supreme Court, Byrd being the Supreme Court justice at those times in California, decided that it was cruel to keep people in a mental institution for a long period of time. So they limited the amount of time that you could do that. Another thing that came in with that is the insurance companies having to pay for a lot of that treatment. But personally, I would be an advocate for a long-term solution for those who are a danger to themselves and a danger to society when it comes to mental illness. And I have some experience in that. It's even more cruel to turn them out on the streets when they have no means by which they can take care of themselves. They're unable to take care of themselves. So, we could, according to the California statutes, as police officers, take someone into custody under the following circumstances. If we believe they were homicidal, suicidal, or unable to care for themselves, and there was nobody there to care for them. So we would do that, and they would be on a 72-hour hold. And then usually, even if they kept them after the 72-hour hold, after a hearing, it wouldn't be more than 3 to 4 weeks. They were turned back out on the streets again and would soon find themselves in the same situation that they were in when we picked them up in the first place. So it became this just cycle of continually picking these folks up, putting them in for care. They come back out. After a while, they're picked up and put back into care. It's just this cycle that goes back and forth. To me, that's cruel. That is what is cruel. These folks need long-term care, long-term help, and I think that would be a legitimate use of taxpayers' dollar to provide long-term care for these folks. And I think if that would have been the case, even if it were a prison where there was mental health care given to the prisoners who were homicidal, that would be more humane to me, to the person who's homicidal, and to the people in society who would become the potential victims of those who are let out because somebody thinks it's cruel to keep them behind bars or to keep them in a locked mental hospital. So as a result, a young lady has lost her life because we as a society haven't figured that part out yet. And there are people with an ideology that don't believe, apparently, in protecting society, because to do so would be cruel to the person who is a danger to society. And so then you have the person who committed the heinous crime being the victim, and the person who lost their life from the heinous crime being the oppressor. And so we live in an upside down world. We live in an upside down world. Up is down, down is up, everything's mixed up. Good is called evil, evil is called good, as Isaiah said. And this is what we get. This is what happens when you leave a biblical understanding of society, a Christian understanding of society, and move over to a secular view of society. And when you have a secular view of society, you have a problem. Because you don't have a solid foundation by which to make sound decisions when it comes to these kind of societal problems. And that's why I detest, I utterly hate, I despise secular government, secular education, secular mentality. If there's anything we need, it's Christian values and Christian wisdom in government, in education, and in our values. Otherwise, we will continue to have more incidents like occurred on that trolley in Charlotte. I've left Mecklenburg County and I am now in Cabarrus County. And we'll soon be in Stanley County as I continue to drive. But Mecklenburg County is Charlotte. And Charlotte is on social media is taking a real beating over that incident on the trolley. But I just love Charlotte. It's a nice city. Yeah, it really is. Now it's run by people I would not vote for. I don't like the mayor. I mean, I don't know her personally. I just don't like her policies. Is what I meant to say. I don't know how she is personally as a person. I don't agree with the district attorney of Charlotte. I think they did a great disservice to the people of Charlotte. But my wife and I just ate at a nice restaurant, very pleasant. And I dropped her off at work, and we visited a friend before that lives in Charlotte. A black lady from Jamaica, believe it or not. Good Christian lady and her husband, Christian family. And we hug each other and we love on each other. And, I mean, color has nothing to do with how we have this wonderful fellowship in Christ when we go and see those folks from time to time. It doesn't matter that she's black and from Jamaica. My wife is brown and from the Philippines, and I'm white from Tennessee. We all love each other. We all take good care of each other. I prayed for her two sisters who are having health problems today, and prayed for a good outcome on that. That's the world that we need to live in. That's the world that I do see in Charlotte among a lot of people, and that I see in the surrounding counties as I'm still in Cabarrus County, but within 5 minutes I'll be in Stanley County. I still see that kind of attitude and love And that's the world that we need to live in, folks. We don't need to be at each other's throats. I know that those who want to conquer us, those who want to destroy our churches, those who want to destroy our Christian beliefs and our love toward each other, those who want to divide and conquer, don't like that. They don't like us getting along with each other. So they use things like critical race theory to try and destroy our society, to try and destroy our love for each other, to try and destroy our caring for one another. Oppressor and oppressed has absolutely nothing to do with ethnicity, has nothing to do with history. It has to do with the condition of the heart. And as the Apostle Paul told the Christians in his letter to the Corinthians, it's not physical circumcision that connects someone to God. It's the circumcision of the heart that connects them to God, that makes them to be in the family of God, the family of Jesus Christ. So always remember that. And that's my talk for today. God bless you guys, and I'll see you next time on the C-Files.